Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, February 3rd, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a high pressure ridge right there to the north of the Caribbean and the main development region. We can see that to the east of that high pressure ridge we have a trough of low pressure, and to the west of that high pressure ridge we have a cold front affecting portions of the eastern United States as well as the Gulf of Mexico. If you actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see that yes, that high pressure ridge that's to the north of the Caribbean is sending a lot of easterly winds across the main development region into the Caribbean, and we can see the movement of those low level clouds moving in that easterly wind, and some of these low level clouds have rainfall embedded in them. So sections of Jamaica, Haiti, portions of Honduras and Nicaragua getting in some amount of rainfall, as well as portions of the northeastern Caribbean. We can also see the clouds associated with that cold front right there offshore the eastern United States coast, still affecting portions of Florida and the Bahamas, portions of the Gulf of Mexico, as well as Mexico and portions of Central America at this time, with some amount of overcast skies and showers. We'll be talking more about that later on. Let's focus our attention right now on the post that was made for the forecast across Jamaica for yesterday. If you actually remember yesterday's video, it was stated that we would have received some amount of morning rainfall across eastern Jamaica. Then around midday we would have received some amount of rainfall across portions of central or northern Jamaica. Then in the afternoon we would have received some amount of rainfall across portions of western Jamaica as well as northern Jamaica. What ended up happening? A post was made at 7:31 a.m. this morning highlighting some amount of clouds bringing overcast skies and showers to sections of some eastern parishes, and we even had some commenters confirming this rainfall and or overcast skies across those very spots. Even at 12:06 p.m. when the next post was made, we still had some amount of clouds bringing overcast skies where across portions of eastern, central and western Jamaica, and some of these areas did in fact receive some isolated showers embedded in those clouds. Then another post was made at 3:26 p.m. highlighting more clouds bringing overcast skies to sections of western Jamaica, northern Jamaica as well as sections of eastern Jamaica. And if we actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see that yes, we had some clouds coming into portions of Portland bringing some amount of isolated showers, and we still had those clouds across portions of western Jamaica still taking their leave into the nighttime hours. This map from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website shows the accumulated rainfall across the region for the past 12 to 18 hours. So yes, even although it's not 100% accurate, we can still see that yes, portions of Jamaica received some amount of measurable rainfall today. If you actually take a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston as well as 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. And if you'd like, you can pause this video right now and see what the temperatures are like in your specific area. Keep in mind that these temperatures should be getting lower as the night progresses. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, both the Euro and the GFS are showing that Jamaica is in the clear. We're going to be receiving average temperatures for tomorrow. So we're not receiving any yellows or browns or oranges that indicate above normal temperatures on both maps. We're not receiving any blues or greens that receive below normal temperature, that mean below normal temperatures on both maps either. For the most part, Jamaica is in the clear. The zeros on the keys, which means average air temperatures for Saturday. This map is showing 18Z on both the Euro model and the GFS model. 18Z is about 1 p.m. on Saturday. So we're going to be receiving average temperatures. And what are the average temperatures for the month of February across Jamaica? That's about 86 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we calculate that on the thermometer, 86 degrees Fahrenheit is the equivalent to about 30 degrees Celsius. If we actually take a look at the dry air map for Right now we can see that yes, we still have a lot of yellows, oranges and reds that indicate a lot of dry air across the Atlantic. It's the dry season, so this is expected. The only time we see a lot of blues that indicate moisture is around the rainy months or the wet season. So May, August, September, October, that's when we see a lot of blues that represent a lot of moisture and not necessarily dry air. And what comes with all of those, the upper level troughs, the tropical waves, tropical depressions, and so on. So right now in February, we're in the peak of our dry season at this time. So this is what the weather is like. As it relates to the actual Saharan dust forecast right now, we can see that this map is showing 2 p.m. on Saturday. For the most part, the Saharan dust is right there across Africa as well as the southern main development region. We can see some amount of dust making its way into portions of, let's say, Trinidad as well as portions of northeastern South America as well, but it is not as robust as what's happening right now across the main development region or Africa. If you actually take a look at the temperature forecast for, not the temperature forecast, the wind forecast for the Euro and the GFS, we can see that we're going to be receiving an easterly flow across the island for tomorrow. This is 12 p.m. on Saturday. Easterly flow anywhere from 10 to 20 knot winds. And where does all of this air pile up? We see that the darkest blues that represent the least amount of winds across portions of central and western Jamaica. And what happens when all of those winds pile up? We get a lot of buildup of clouds that lead to afternoon convection. All of those clouds rise up in the upper levels of the atmosphere and form thunderstorms. And what happens when they form thunderstorms? They are being blown off to the other direction by wind shear. So while they are moving along with the easterly wind, they become thunderstorms, and then the wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere from the west-northwest on both the Euro and the GFS model will be blowing it all back to the east-southeast. So there might be a bias of the afternoon convection across portions of southern Jamaica, so we shall see what actually unfolds with that. As it relates to the precipitation forecast for 5 a.m. tomorrow though, both the Euro and the GFS are showing some amount of blues that represent rainfall across sections of, let's say, St. Thomas and Portland. In the afternoon, however, we can see that all of those blues are making their way across portions of central and western Jamaica, but where specifically looks to be biased towards southern Jamaica. So maybe St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland might be getting in on some amount of rainfall for tomorrow afternoon. And both the Euro and the GFS's accumulated precipitation forecast are showing some amount of greens that represent rainfall across the island for tomorrow. Even although the Euro is a bit more bullish with the amount of rainfall, we still have rainfall. We know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's talk briefly about the rest of the Caribbean. So yes, we have a lot of easterly winds, and with those easterly winds, a lot of low-level clouds bringing some amount of rainfall. And we have those clouds associated with that cold front affecting portions of Florida, portions of the Bahamas, sections of the Gulf of Mexico, including Mexico, sections of Guatemala and Belize. If you actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, we know that Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall over an area represented by, let's say, blues and greens that represent light to moderate rainfall. This map is showing all the rainfall that we had from about 2:30 p.m. across portions of the northeastern Caribbean, and we can see that sections of Puerto Rico, the British and US Virgin Islands, portions of St. John's, Guadeloupe and Dominica got in on some amount of rainfall today, even up to recording hour, still getting in on some of that rainfall. If we actually turn over to the Barbados radar, we see that for the most part Barbados is in the clear. We still have some amount of isolated shores to the north of there, but for the most part majority of the rainfall is to the far north and the far south of there. You can see a lot of rainfall that looks to be headed into the direction of Tobago. You can see a lot of rainfall that looks to be headed into the direction right now of Martinique, Dominica as well. So those areas might be receiving some amount of rainfall tonight as well. If we actually take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that yes, we have some amount of blues, greens, and yellows that represent light to moderate to heavy rainfall across portions of Mexico, portions of Guatemala, and Belize, as well as Honduras, associated with that cold front. We can also see some amount of rainfall across portions of Guyana, as well as French Guyana as well. Alright, so let us turn our attention on the temperature forecast for tomorrow. For the most part, Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, majority of the Eastern Caribbean seems to be in for some above normal temperatures indicated by those yellows, oranges shadings. This is about 1 p.m. on Saturday on both models. We know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Where do we see the below normal temperatures? We see them across portions of the southern Caribbean right there to the south of Jamaica. So northern Colombia, portions of Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, portions of Guatemala, Belize, as well as Mexico, especially Mexico. Especially considering the cold front that's situated over that area right now, as well as portions of the eastern United States. That's where all of the cooler than average temperatures are expected for Saturday. If you actually take a look at the wind forecast for tomorrow, the strongest winds seem to be right there to the north of the Caribbean, so portions of the Bahamas, portions of Florida, portions of Mexico getting in on some of that on both the Euro and the GFS model associated with that cold front. For the Caribbean, for the most part, we're going to be receiving an easterly flow anywhere from 10 to 20 knots with the strongest winds across portions of that area to the south of Jamaica, to the far south, so portion of northern Colombia. For the most part, that cold front will be staying to the north of the Caribbean, not going to be making its way into portion of the Greater Antilles, including Jamaica at all. As it relates to the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, both the Euro and the GFS are showing that those areas that are already receiving rainfall right now are still to receive more rainfall. This map is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3 on Sunday. When we calculate that, that's about 10 p.m. on Saturday. Where's the rainfall forecast to affect eastern Puerto Rico, portions of the British and US Virgin Islands, those very areas that were just mentioned, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, might get in on some of that rainfall. If we scroll down on both maps, we can see that a lot of rainfall is being forecasted across portions of Trinidad and Tobago, portions of Guyana as well. Trinidad and Tobago might get in on even an inch or more of rainfall, so there might be some amount of isolated flash flooding going on. If you actually take a look at the western portion of the basin, portions of Nicaragua, Costa Rica still to receive some amount of rainfall, maybe up to an inch across portions of Nicaragua. If you actually take a look at the western portion of the basin right now, portions of northwestern Cuba, portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, Belize, Guatemala still to receive a lot of rainfall. The Euro and the GFS are showing up to an inch of rainfall everywhere in this area. However, there seems to be a lot of purples right there across portions of the midsection of Mexico that indicate up to even 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. We know that when we have so much rainfall over a short period of time, considering that this map is showing all the rainfall that's expected up until 10 p.m. on Saturday, there might be some amount of flash flooding in those spots. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.